The Martian sunrise always took Ethan Drake's breath away. It wasn't the fiery red glow that stretched across the horizon or the thin clouds glowing like molten silver. It was the silence. For a man who spent his days knee-deep in the noisy mechanics of ships and station repairs, that stillness was a balm. But today, Ethan wasn't alone. Leiryn stood beside him, her lithe form poised like a statue carved of moonlight. She was not human. Her silvery skin shimmered faintly in the Martian light, and her eyes, bright violet and otherworldly, gazed out at the rising sun as if trying to memorize it. "I don't understand you humans," she said softly. Her voice was musical, alien, but carried a strange warmth. "You marvel at a sun that is not your own." Ethan shrugged. "You don't have to understand it. Sometimes you just let yourself feel it." Leiryn tilted her head, her violet eyes narrowing in thought. She had been assigned to Ethan 6 months ago, part of a trade agreement between humanity and the Silvery, her people. The Silvery were logical, disciplined, and ancient, their civilization light years ahead of humanity in technology, but weighed down by unyielding traditions. Leiryn had been sent as a gesture of trust, a servant to Earth's emissaries, though Ethan never treated her like one. In his quiet workshop aboard the Martian orbital docks, she had taken to learning his work, tinkering with ships, tightening bolts, even laughing at his poorly timed jokes. Now, as they stood together on the observation deck, something unspoken lingered between them. "I envy you," she murmured finally. Ethan turned to her, surprised. "Envy me? Why?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed to a nearby ship launching toward Earth. Its engines flared as it broke free of Mars' pull, rising toward the stars. "Your people are free to chase the unknown, to break rules, to make mistakes. The Silvery, we do not. Our lives are written before we are born." Ethan frowned. He had never heard her talk like this. "And what if you could write your own story?" Her eyes locked onto his, glowing brighter. "That is impossible." Sparks in the darkness. The attack came without warning. The rogue faction, pirates who refused to recognize Earth's alliances, descended on the orbital docks in a brutal raid. Explosions rocked the station as Ethan sprinted for his workshop, pulling Leiryn along behind him. The station's defenses struggled to hold back the raiders, and chaos reigned. "We need to get to the central controls," Ethan shouted, his voice barely audible over the alarms. "I will help you," Leiryn said firmly. "Show me what to do." Ethan glanced at her. In the months they had worked together, Leiryn had picked up far more than just ship repairs. She understood circuits, overrides, and the basics of human technology. If anyone could help him disable the pirates' breach, it was her. They reached the controls, but the panel had been sabotaged. Wires sparked dangerously as smoke filled the small room. "We're not getting out of this without a bypass," Ethan muttered, yanking tools from his belt. "I'll need at least 10 minutes. "You have 5, Leiryn replied, moving to guard the door. As Ethan worked, Leiryn's instincts took over. Her people were no strangers to combat, and when the pirates stormed the room, she moved with deadly precision. Her silvery form ducked and weaved, disarming attackers with fluid strikes and using stolen weapons against them. Ethan barely noticed the fight. He was too focused on the wires and overrides in front of him. But when he heard Leiryn cry out in pain, his heart stopped. He turned to see her clutching her side, a deep crimson stain seeping into her tunic. She collapsed as the last pirate fell. "Leiryn!" Ethan ran to her, panic surging through him. He cradled her in his arms, her glowing eyes fluttering weakly open. "I will be fine," she whispered. "Finish what you started." Ethan swallowed hard, his throat tight. "You're not dying on me. I won't let you." The choice. Hours later, the attack had been repelled, and the station was secured. Leiryn lay in the medbay, recovering slowly. Her alien biology meant the human doctors struggled to treat her, but she was strong, stronger than any human Ethan had ever known. Ethan sat beside her, watching as her silvery skin gradually regained its glow. "You're an idiot," he muttered softly. "You could have died." She opened one eye, smirking faintly. "And you would have blamed yourself." "Of course I would." He exhaled sharply. Because I care about you." Leiryn's smile faded, her expression turning serious. "You care for me?" "Yes," he admitted, his voice raw. "More than I've cared about anyone in years. I know you're supposed to go back to your people one day, but I don't want you to." Her violet eyes searched his face. "If I stay, I dishonor my people. My family." "I know," Ethan said quietly. "But what about what you want? You told me once that your life was written before you were born. Don't you want to write your own ending?" Leiryn was silent for a long time. Then, softly, she said, "I do." Beneath the crimson skies. A month later, Ethan and Leiryn stood once again on the observation deck, watching the Martian sunrise. Leiryn's silvery tunic had been replaced by a mechanic's jumpsuit, and she looked at peace for the first time since he'd met her. "You're sure about this?" Ethan asked, though he already knew the answer. Leiryn nodded. "My people will not understand, but I will face that when the time comes. For now, this is my choice." Ethan smiled. He reached out and took her hand, her alien skin cool and smooth beneath his touch. "Then we'll face it together." As the sun rose over the crimson sands, the two of them stood side by side, human and alien, partners in a life they had chosen for themselves. Beyond the Martian sky, the stars stretched endlessly, promising adventures yet to come. And together, they would write their own story,